Do not change the station. What you're hearing is coming from the Big Sci-Fi Podcast and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode of... Wait a minute. Receiving a new transmission. What is that? What am I seeing? It's big. It's really big. Oh my God, it's so... Welcome to Season 6 of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy. Join our crew, Adina, Brian, Cris, and Steve, as we travel the Milky Way looking for the best that science fiction has to offer. Make sure you're strapped in tight, because we're going to have a lot of fun talking all things sci-fi. Stay tuned to this channel for the next audio transmission.
Greetings, listeners of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. We are so close to Trek Long Island 2. And today we are beyond lucky to be talking in advance to one of the celebrity guests, Natalijah Nogulich. Now, for us Trekkies, Natalijah is best known as the formidable Admiral Nechayev from The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. However, her extensive career as a character actress encompasses a wide array of roles across TV and film, from dramas like NCIS and Bones to comedies such as Fuller House and Two Broke Girls. Now, what truly astounds me about character actors like Natalijah is their incredible versatility. So we'll include links to her demo reels in the show notes for you to witness her impressive range for yourself. But not before listening to our episode today. Natalijah, welcome to the Big Sci-Fi.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you.
Great. Well, the thing that really brought you here is your connection to Star Trek. So I think I'd like to just start out by asking, because I think I saw a note in an interview somewhere that Admiral Nechayev is not actually the role you interviewed for originally, or it was one of a couple roles you interviewed for.
That's
what was that process like?
Well, I auditioned for Star Trek at least one or two times before I auditioned for Nechayev. And I remember one of the times they said, oh, it was good. The feedback I got from my agent was it was a fine audition, but she's too strong for the character, whatever that character was. It escapes me now. So sometime later, the audition for Nechayev came up, and my agents read the specs on it, and they said, "Oh, this looks like you don't have to be afraid of being strong for this audition. So go in there and get it." And that's what happened. So I really liked the character a lot. I liked it right from the audition, but certainly playing her, much to many fans' chagrin, I fell in love with her.
I remember watching Chain of Command Part 1, which I think initiated the character, right, on the Next Gen?
Right. Yes.
And just
when
going,
I fired,
yeah. I remember hating your character, but another one of my favorite episodes of Next Gen is Preemptive Strike.
Mm-hmm.
And I think had, if I recall correctly, that was much more kind of a peacemaking. There was not redeeming quality to your character because you're just doing your job, but you know what I mean? Those are just two fabulous episodes to have appeared in, for one thing. So,
well, I agree with you. The first one was kind of harsh. And it had that long initial monologue that I had where, I lay it out and then dismiss Picard and kind of diss Jonathan Frakes as well. And it was, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous about it because you don't often get a monologue on TV, guest spots, it's usually dialogue. But I'm old school. I really prepare for a role. I don't use any crib cards or anything. I go in there ready to shoot, And so I felt, a little nervous, but also confident that I knew what I was doing. But yeah, the feedback on that was at conventions, I get, how could you fire Picard? He's so nuts. One guy came up to me and said, you should have a different name. It should be Admiral Bitchayev.
Oh my God.
My, wow.
And would you
I heard
please
that before.
So would you sign the autograph? He bought a picture and paid for an autograph. He said, but would you sign it, Bitchayev? I said, absolutely. It's your money. I'll sign it whatever you want,
So here's the thing that I wonder about this, and I wonder if you've encountered this, because I look to characters like, the Admiral as very strong, formidable women who also looked like women. And I would say for my generation, there weren't a lot of those on TV. So I was in high school when that came out, just for reference.
Mhm.
And it's one of those, because I've fought with this in my career. If that admiral was a man,
Mhm.
would people have had that same kind of commentary?
Oh, that's a really good point.
Sadly,
Probably,
but
I would have to
no.
say probably not.
Right.
Mhm.
That
I also-
angers me a little bit.
Yeah. I also had couples come up to my table, and the woman would say, "Oh, I guess the wife, I really
Mhm.
loved your character," and the guy would say, "I really hated her," and they would get into it, with each other. But
Man.
here's the way here's the way I've approached strong characters, because I've played a few. I've also
Mhm.
played more vulnerable ones as well, but I just I do my best to join the consciousness of the character and come from where she is. What's her point of view? What is she defending? What is she willing to go to the mat for? And clearly, Nechayev wanted to preserve the Federation. And
Mhm.
and that meant some hard choices, like moving the Indians off the land, wanting
Mhm.
Picard to take advantage of the opportunity to destroy the Borg, and getting upset
Yep.
with when he didn't.
Mhm.
And that was all in the interest of preserving the Federation and the principles that she stood on. And I think when you play I'll speak for myself,
Mhm.
play a character that could be interpreted as unlikable, perhaps.
Mhm.
The best way for me to go about it is to defend their position, and then
Mhm.
people can take it or leave it. Of course, Picard was more sympathetic. First of all, he was the lead, and secondly, he had been in their homes for so many years by the time the season came along that I did, and he was the humanist. The
Mhm.
captain was always taking the humane side, and I was always standing for principle, and that was a clash, which is why I think the writers were so smart to
Mhm.
have that conflict between the two of us. And
Mhm.
you're right that it did soften in a few episodes later, and eventually he's serving me tea in Valerian canopy, and God only knows where it would have gone in season 8.
Right.
Yeah, right. Well, Natalia, I can say without a doubt, and I can believe that I'm correct, you are the highest ranking Starfleet officer to appear on our show. We've never had an
Think so.
admiral. So may I, if you don't mind, all hands on deck. Admiral is on the podcast.
Amen.
You deserve that recognition.
Well, thank you, and I'm honored to hold that position. And thank you.
You definitely do. But what you were saying about people reacting to your character in a negative way, and that means that you portrayed the character exactly the way it was supposed to be done, and you got the reaction you expected.
Mhm.
You didn't mean to, have a argument between men and women over who likes you and who doesn't. But the fact that you did portray that way and people reacted that way means you nailed it.
Well, thank you. I felt fine about what I did. I didn't do a convention till a few years after I was finished shooting it. So I didn't even know what conventions were like or how people came up and talked to you. And the ones who loved me were the military.
Mhm.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
I believe that.
I
That
had
makes
I
sense.
had a superior officer like you, and so that was interesting too. And of course, I'm very military friendly. My dad was a World War II Normandy invader.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Yeah, he passed last year at 102. God bless him.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
And my grandfather on my mother's side was a Medal of Honor recipient for World War I. So I come from
Wow.
a generations of respect for the
Mhm.
strength of the military, and she had, she was clearly kind of a military character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Yep.
The other thing is, you have to get to a point when you're acting where you don't worry about being liked. They're going to like me, they're going to hate me. I don't care. Let me just tell the truth of this
Mhm.
character as best I can, and let the story decide. Who's the villain or whatever.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, so conventions are a big part of, Trek fandom and such. Do you consider yourself a Star Trek fan, or, before, after at all?
During and since.
Yeah.
During and since. My older sister was really into the original one, and
Mhm.
So I kind of by association was aware of it, but clearly later I think Next Gem was the best incarnation. That's my humble opinion. Yeah, I mean since yes, sure, yeah, I love it now. I mean, Roddenberry was a prophet, really.
Yes,
Right.
he was.
So what was it like being able to tell your sister that, oh, by the way, I'm going to be on Star Trek and I'm going to be an
Good
admiral?
question.
Well, that's a good question. I'm very fortunate. I have siblings that rejoiced in every victory I had, and theirs. They weren't entertainment, yeah, they were right behind me. But she was thrilled. Yeah, she was thrilled, but she said, "Oh, too bad it's not the original."
Oh.
Rather see me with Shatner, but no, they loved it, and they even came. My sister came a couple of times to the Vegas convention. My brother also. That seemed to be the one where they wanted to accompany me. So it was fun to have. Once my parents came, and the fans wanted to talk to them more than me, especially the military guys were like picking my dad's brain about Normandy, and I was like, "Oh, anybody want to buy a picture?"
So you were a part of another fandom, and I don't know if many people would know this. I happen to be a personal fan of the radio broadcasts of the original 3 Star Wars films. But is it true you played Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi on that radio broadcast?
There's a lot of talk about that. I don't remember doing that. I mean, I don't remember doing that. If I did, I must have been in another, I don't know. But yeah. So is
That's so interesting.
Am I credited with it? Did you?
That's on
your Wikipedia page.
Oh, it is.
And on
I must have done it, and I've forgotten. And I mean, I'm 104 years old. These things slip away.
Very good.
And on the other Star Trek website that everybody, I can't remember the name of it now.
You mean Memory Alpha?
Memory Alpha.
Yeah.
You're not the first person that's brought that to my attention, and so I think you're probably right. And
it's on IMDb too.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm. Oh, it's nice to have done so much work. You forget some of it.
Right. Sure, sure.
But did the check clear? That's the important.
Oh yeah, that's always the important question, isn't it? Yeah. So I have to say I have had a very varied career in terms of the kind of characters I played, but I really enjoyed every one. I love to work. I love playing the good, bad, and the ugly. Frankly, it just makes it more interesting. Movie stars don't always get that opportunity, but some do, clearly. I mean, Helen Mirren can do anything. One of my idols. But I'm grateful for the variety that I've been blessed with throughout, many.
Oh, does anything rise to being a favorite?
Yes, there's one that I think it's just now going to be available to see. It was in the 90s. I did a series called Lazarus Man, starring Robert Urich. And we shot in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it was right after, it takes place immediately after the Civil War, when there was still a lot of people killing each other on both sides. And I played a double spy disguised as a lady of the night. She was very complex. Joie de Winter was her name. And I loved it. We did several episodes. And then Robert Urich took ill. He got cancer, actually.
Oh, no.
So they shut it down. But, he got well. And he went on to do another series. He's passed now. And Ted Turner was producing it. He just didn't release any of it. And that was one of my favorite characters because of her complexity. Yeah. Now I think you can get it. I don't know exactly where, but somebody told me they saw the episode. So that's a favorite. I liked, I do a good lawyer, and I did a lot of lawyer thing, with LA Law, The Practice, Civil Wars. I played a lot of lawyers, and I know there's a great deal of satisfaction in that, because there's always, meaty dialogue. And I don't always win the case, but the first time I did an LA Law, my mother called me, "I'm so sorry you lost, honey." Said, "Mom, it's just a TV show, the check cleared," as you say.
Yeah. Do you enjoy doing voice characterizations, using accents and things like that? Because it seems like you play into that really, really well from what I saw of the clips.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I grew up bilingual. My parents spoke Serbian at home. They were immigrants. And that is very close to Russian, which I studied in college. And I also studied Spanish and studied one term in Spain. I was an art student. Then I went to Italy and studied in Italy, so I added Italian. Then later I was playing a role where I had to speak a little French, and I hired a coach just to help me with the dialogue. I didn't like to learn, but I liked studying with her so much. I stayed with her for years, and now I have a conversational understanding of French. And so I have a theory that when you grow up bilingual, you can add other languages with facility, because your mouth has not, but hasn't been limited to saying things in one way. There's kind of more movement there. So I do get called for the foreigners, for the Italian or the Russian or a lot of Slavic roles I get. And I always love it when they say, "Oh, we want this or this dialect." I think, "Oh, good, I got a chance at nailing this one," because it's kind of in my wheelhouse. What else was I going to say about languages? I did a thing with Tori Spelling and Zachary Quinto.
Saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and I had to learn Farsi.
Wow.
Which I had none of that in my experience. But oddly enough, I had an Iranian neighbor in Brentwood where I was living, and he helped me with the dialogue, and I managed to pull it off, So I love doing that kind of stuff. I love, anything that stretches you. But yes, thanks for bringing that up. I love the dialects. I love the other languages. I love, like to go to all those places over and over again. I did get to go to Moscow a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
Worked on a movie, but not as an actor. I was hired as the acting coach, because I've taught acting a lot. And so that was fun. English, Russian, trying to, balance it all. But I'm grateful for that aspect of my education. Really grateful.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm also very curious, what's it like going from a drama like a TNG, a Bones, to say Two Broke Girls, where it's filmed in front of a live audience? Is that more challenging to do?
Oh, thank you for asking that, because I love doing sitcoms, and the reason I do is because it is a live audience, because it's more like theater, which is my initial foundation was in Chicago theater, and then I went to New York and did theater, and then ended up in LA. And so when you're in front of a live audience, they can redo it on a sitcom, but on stage they can't. You mess up, you better fix it like on your feet somehow. And I like that edge, of having to deliver right there for the moment, in the moment. I love sitcoms. I loved it. And switching from drama to comedy, it's interesting. People ask that a lot. I think comedy is more difficult. But I think that it's similar to drama. The stakes are higher. And when you make the stakes higher, that's where the humor comes in, because, you want a cup of coffee, but you really have to have a cup of coffee, and it becomes so urgent that's where some of the humor comes in. And, I like doing both, but I'm glad you asked about sitcoms. I'm very fond of that live audience. I love it. I want to do more theater now in my old age. And so I have to make my agents get after that.
I did see the clip of Fuller House on your demo reel, and I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
Yes. Wasn't she grand? What a great character. She was a designer of a bridal salon. And of course, there were a lot of mishaps of who's wearing what dress. But I had she was another no-nonsense character with a very thick Russian accent, and the characters would come in and start to tell me about themselves, and I'd say, Berta doesn't care. you know. And Berta's having a smoking break. Leave me alone, you know. That was, and I liked Berta. Some of my friends who have young children, when I run into them, they go, "Oh, do some Berta," because they like.
That's
you know,
cute.
pulling
That's
out.
great.
Yeah, that was a good series, actually.
Yeah.
Long running one too.
Yeah, that was it was a nice second go at those
I thought
characters.
so.
It was
I thought
Yeah.
so, and the music that they had in it,
Mhm.
yeah, it was great.
A lot of
I've
fun.
been blessed. I've been so blessed with the variety. Really, I'm deeply grateful.
Well, we are really excited that you're going to be at Trek Long Island.
Me too. I can't wait to
And
meet you all in person.
It's going to be awesome, and we are going to tell everybody how nice you are, and that they could not hold some other writers who wrote the character for Star Trek that way. It's not your fault.
But also, Nechayev wasn't wrong. I've come around where I've gone from "how dare you even suggest Picard is wrong" to "you know what, you have a good point. If you can destroy the Borg now, take it."
Yeah,
Right.
no,
no need to apologize for the writers.
Well, and again, as someone who also is somewhat military adjacent, you know, there is something to be said for rank because you know more. Not that necessarily you're smarter, but you have access to more information and you have a broader view. And so that's why you have people in those positions. So yes, I've always been on the side of, you know, Admiral Nechayev is correct.
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. Well, I just think that, you know, she was always fighting for principle, and that's something I could get behind. And, you know, it's not always the most popular stand. Even today, we can see that. But so, yeah, she was a great lady. When people ask me my favorite character, she's always one of them. And then this Lazarus Man woman was another one because and oh gosh, and all the comedy ones. I like News Radio. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I'm just I have fun when I work.
Oh, good.
Did you keep did you keep any little props from Star Trek when you were on?
Boy, did I want to. You know what? I went after I started going to conventions. I went to Paramount, and I had a nice relationship with the costume people. You know, I usually do. I'm, you know, pretty friendly. And I said, could I, you know, get my costume, or I'd be happy to pay for it, you know. It was like I asked for their firstborn son. Absolutely not. We are saving all of them. I said, do you mind my asking for what? You know, maybe it's like a museum down the road. I don't know. But they would not part with it. And so, no, not the costume is what I would have wanted. And I didn't get any tchotchkes either. But I did have somebody, a very talented friend, build the jacket for me. Exactly.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
And
Very nice.
Cool.
And I do photo ops at conventions. I'll be bringing it to.
Okay, we might have to do that.
Yes. And even though I don't quite get my hair the way they had it, it's very it's a good thing to do. And it was his idea. He said, well, let me make you a jacket. You could get more photos taken with, you know, photo ops, et cetera. And I said, well, yeah, I think you can. It's impeccable. You'll see when you come. And and you all get free autographs, and I'll write whatever you want.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Say you miserable son. I mean, yeah, no.
You can write Picard was wrong on mine, okay?
Okay, all right. That will be my pleasure. I ran into him a couple of years ago in Vegas. It was a few years ago, actually, you know, like maybe 5. And I was in my uniform, you know, the newly made uniform. And I was waiting, and they said, he'll be out in a minute. He didn't know I was waiting for it, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. It was backstage somewhere. And finally he comes out, and I said, how dare you keep an admiral waiting? And he said, Natalia! You know?
That's awesome.
But I have to say, there was a moment where, you know, he kind of like, and then he realized, you know, I was not for a change chastising him, you know. One other little story. When I did... you know, I was always dissing Frakes, you know, my character. And the first DS9 that I shot, I did 2, and don't ask me the name, Maquis 1 and Maquis 2. I don't know. Frakes was directing. And so I got on the set, and he said, now I can get my revenge. So, but, you know, it all
great
went.
story.
So, yeah, he's great. Very
well.
find that.
Natalia, I have to say, thank you so much for joining us today. We're just about the end of our time.
It was my pleasure. I'm just looking forward so much to meeting you in person. And maybe I'll think of some other little things to share with you by then. But thank you for making this so easy and good questions and all.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And I must say, I love all the memorabilia behind you. It's fascinating. And if we had more time, I'd want a story behind each of them. I'm sure there is.
Some other time, we'll definitely have you back. So thank you today. And I'm going to also say thank you to our listeners who have tuned in to listen to us at the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. And everybody, not only can you listen to us, but remember that you're going to get to see all of us at Trek Long Island 2 this May 31st through June 2nd. You're going to see us, you're going to see Natalia, and so much more. And especially if you're there, remember to come test your Trek knowledge at Trek Trivia on that Saturday night. We will have prizes, and there might even be a question about Admiral Nechayev in there because I'm the one making the questions and I can do whatever I want. So
yeah.
Yes.
Adida's the boss.
I am. So as always, everybody, keep in mind that you can interact and chat with us on our Facebook group or find us on Instagram and Twitter or drop us a note at the Big Sci-Fi Podcast at Gmail. And y'all, it's a great big sci-fi universe out there and the voyage never ends. Please always remember to extend kindness, respect, and understanding to all beings across the galaxy. Live long and prosper, and join us once more for the next interstellar journey on the Big Sci-Fi Podcast.
Attention all Starfleet personnel. New York's only fan-run Star Trek convention, Trek Long Island, is back this summer. Get ready for 3 days of sci-fi fun celebrating your favorite franchise in the Empire State. Meet the stars from Trek shows spanning different eras, including Melissa Navia and Yetidi Badaki from Strange New Worlds, Gabrielle Ruiz from Lower Decks, Armin Shimmerman, Chase Masterson, J.G. Hertzler, and Kitty Swink from DS9, Ethan Phillips from Voyager, Janet Kidder, Tara Rosling, Conrad Coates, and Elias Defexis from Discovery, and many more, including celebrities who haven't been at a Star Trek convention in years, like Clyde Kasatsu, Natalijah Nogulich, and Daphne Ashbrook. Come meet your fellow fans. Take in a panel with your favorite podcasters. Enjoy Dinner with the Stars, featuring live musical performances. Meet authors, artists, and musicians, and so many more during this epic 3-day event brought to you by the talented and inclusive community that makes Star Trek go at warp speed. Trek Long Island takes place from May 31st to June 2nd at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Hauppauge, New York. Visit treklongisland.com for tickets, exclusive packages, and more information. Trek Long Island, going kindly this summer.